is to raise the vibrations, the energy in this room. And I said, oh, well, okay, I can understand that. I said, well, when in Rome, do what the Romans do, see? So it got quiet again. And all of a sudden, out of Van Tassel's vocal cords came, greetings from the realms of Baya, I am Contamara. And I thought, what the holy Jesus, you know, oh my God, you know, see. So I sat there stunned, you know, see, because I thought I was going to meet these people and talk to them. But anyway, and he said from the realms of Shari, or from the satellite Shari, you know, and so forth. So he started talking, and boy, what he said made a heck of a lot of sense. I mean, really, I was very surprised, because he talked about things that were coming up, or things that we had just begun to understand or know about or recognize. And I thought, boy, where did this come from? Where did they get this information from? See? So anyway, that finally ended. That first session ended. The lights came back on because they went out and turned the generator on. And so they said, people said, how did it go? Oh, gee whiz, wow, gee, my God. The new people were like, holy cats, what in the world? I've never had anything like this. I've never seen anything like this. So we gathered up at the cafe, had coffee and donuts, put in a donation if we wish to do so. And after about, I guess it was about 20 minutes or so, okay, now we're going to start the second session. So we went into the room again. I sat on the steps while the lights were still on. And Mrs. Van Tassel said, would Bob Short care to come down and sit with us here? I think something very interesting is going to happen. And I said, you want me to come down? She said, yes, you. So I said, well, okay. So I came down and sat next to her in a big overstuffed chair. And anyway, the whole thing started up again. They didn't have to do the alms or the songs again. I guess the energy was okay. So it got very quiet, and all of a sudden again, I heard Van Tassel say, well, okay, Newt, okay, we're about ready to start here. Who's this guy coming in? He's all right? And I thought, who's he talking to? Who the heck is he talking? See, because I couldn't see anything. So anyway, out of his voice came this voice again of this individual called Newt. Okay, now I don't know whether it was N-E-W-T, N-E-U-T, or whatever, but anyway, it made sense. And all of a sudden, my arm that I began to get messages with began to shake very violently, and I said to myself, and my body began to shake like there was some kind of energy that had taken hold of me, and I felt like there was a pulse motor running down my back. I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. And I said to myself, now, so I said, Robert, stop this, stop this, stop it. What are you doing? Stop it. See? And it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, the lights are on. People are all looking at me with their mouths practically hanging open. And I said, what happened? Oh, my God, I fell asleep. Oh, my God. I said to Mrs. Van Tassel, I'm terribly sorry. I must have fallen asleep. I must have been tired or something. I don't know. Van Tassel said, fell asleep, my fanny. How do they push a set of something like that to a set of vocal cords? Oh, my God. Wow. And I said, what? What are you talking about? He said, didn't you hear it? I said, I didn't hear anything. I said, I guess I fell asleep. He said, no, you didn't. He said, out of your vocal cords came this voice and told the people they were glad they were there. They needed to hear this information now. It was very important to them. And I said, well, oh, my God. Well, did he identify himself? Did he say who he was? He said, yeah, it sounded like Juno, something like that. I said,
Robert, we need to go to a top-of-the-hour break, but when we continue with America Now, we want to hear what came out of your mouth.
What was the message?
What was the message? America Now will continue after the top-of-the-hour break. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to America Now, and our guest tonight is the Reverend Robert Short. And Robert, when we left off, you were about to tell us what the message was that came through you when you were at your first giant rock meeting with George Van Tassel and many of the other founders of the modern UFO movement.
With those amazing vocal cords that he has.
Yeah, no kidding. Would you share that message with us, please?
The voice of Jonelle said, greetings to the people of the Earth planet. I am Jonelle. I am glad that you are gathered here this evening because you need to hear this information. It is very important to you people of your Earth planet to know what is taking place. And therefore, we needed to get this message and this information out to you. And therefore, we greet you in peace. I am now departing. We leave you with our greetings and our peace. Again, I am Jonal. And that was it. Very brief.
That was it, huh?
Boy, it was brief, all right.
Yep.
Well.
But he was speaking in reference to, I guess, what George Van Tassel was telling the people, you see. And they evidently knew that, too, so that's why he wasn't going on and on with me, see. But that's what I was told was said, and so and it was a totally different thing from my voice normally, as you can very well tell. In fact, I'll tell you, the way that I communicate today, I mean, I've been doing this now for almost 58 years, okay? And in fact, I'm able, my body goes into a reduced breathing. I get into what they call rhythmic type breathing, and my heart action slows down, my body metabolism slows down, and so forth. And you can hear the voice of the, I'd have been almost robotic as they first come through, because they talk about, you know, their craft and what frequency they're on in reference to their own communication system. And then they call for the central communication system called ADI on the planet we today call Jupiter, which actually, to some degree, there are satellites or moons of Jupiter that are inhabited. And so anyway, my voice today actually is out of what we call in our English equivalents Salon 3 Koldas, Koldas, okay? And I'll say some of the words in their own language so you know what I'm speaking about.
Okay.
Yudem Regen Vek Yanto Nictum Boraga. To gather together in space, you are welcome, friends. That's in their own tongue. That's called Solex Mal, the word or the law of the tongue of the sun.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I've actually witnessed Bob here conducting one of these trans-state types of communications, and it is really very mechanical. But there's also all these earmarks and shades of Latin and Greek and older languages that are really not too commonly or widely known nowadays.
Yep,
and
that's correct. That's right.
And that's a pattern. That's a pattern that's seen in a lot of those early contactees. Now, most people out there listening right now are almost completely removed from what a contactee is, and that is all supplemented by what we call the gray phenomenon. And so most of the modern people into this kind of mess have no familiarity with the background of some of this stuff. And I also want to point out that Howard Menger, George Adamski, George Hunt Williamson, all these early people, typically these types of communications occurred in the middle of desert regions, remote areas, and typically all of these contactees in the initial stages were met by people on the street that were posing presumably as human beings, but had the complete appearance of a normal person. And before their UFO contacts began, they were actually originally approached by strange men that would just walk up to them on the street and know a tremendous amount about them.
That's correct. You got it, Joe. That's right. Absolutely correct.
What brought George Van Tassel? Tell us a little bit of the history of the Native American history
the Cahuilla,
of giant rocks.
Cahuilla people, Cahuilla, Cahuilla. Okay, they're related to the Talkett's people down in Palm Springs, Talkett's Canyon people, and the Torres Martinez Reservation down near Indio. They all speak, their background of their language is Uto-Azteca. They're related to the Aztec people. Okay, and there's stories about about how they came into being. I mean, they were originally there, had been there long ago when there was a large lake called Lake Kahuia in the lower desert area, which is now the Salton Sea. They also, by the way, have already built a small lake, which they call today Lake Kahuia, which is actually not near Salton Sea, but a little north of it, but it's smaller, of course, quite small. But anyway, I have a lot of the petroglyphs and pictographs that I discovered while I was